Jeanne Singhass is an LHCOS moderator and Crab Street Journal local rep. She has been crab keeping for over 25 years. She started foraging for her crabs after joining the Land Hermit Crab Owners Society 5 years ago. Her goal is to offer fresh natural food and enrichment for her wild-caught crabs and yours as well. Her business is Because of Crabs, Moss and Such, and can be found on Etsy.
Hi, it's Jeannie, and welcome to Putting It Away for Winter. Let's begin. Well, as you know, I have my moss group Because of Crabs, and I sell several items. Right here I have the moss, very famous moss. Here it is. And lichens, dried leaves, and lots of spring flowers in this box. This is rye that I grew all winter, dried, and I harvested it. Containers for putting it away for winter. Over here we have logs, branches with lichens and with moss. This basket, bark, and branches. Now, as far as the bark, you can gather this summer or winter. It's best if it doesn't have moss or lichens to bake this at 150 degrees Fahrenheit for 30 minutes to kill any parasites. If it has lichens and moss and you want to preserve those, you can pour on or soak in boiling water. That doesn't mean boil it. You can soak it in boiling water and or freeze it for 48 hours. After you're cleaned, if you don't put it right in, you can wrap it in brown bags or put it in cardboard boxes. You are going to have to check for parasites again when you do go to use it. Mice, they can get on there. They're everywhere. This bark in the front, same thing. This would go in the oven. No moss or lichens. All this bark in the front. All this is for sale, will be for sale on my Etsy. That's a hide, same thing. Maple, most of that. Yesterday we found a couple garter snakes in our building, and they gave me this snake shed. Now for this, you could just toss in the freezer or in your dehydrator to kill any parasites. These, you can see from there, are cicadas. We have a good many here. This is just their exoskeleton. They're ready to go. I mean, if you want to store those, there you go. Little container from the dollar store. Like, I think you get like 6 for $1 or $2. These racks here, you see, I could have put something on that one. These are for a dehydrator. But I don't always use the dehydrator to dry flowers. These are all air dried. on these racks. In the sun, you can do this in one day. If not, it could take about a week. This is roses, dahlias, and blackberry raspberry leaves. These are from earlier in the spring. These are lilacs. Also, these were all air dried out in the sun. These roses are not dry. These were just picked yesterday off of my rose bushes. There's yellow, white, pink, and red. They would just sit in this rack and dry. Put these on here. I picked these in early March. There are dandelions, henbit, just all kinds of spring flowers, violets, quince, and they've been drying on here. They're totally dry. Also, this isn't dry. These are, if you have briar patches or blackberry, raspberry, or wild roses, the crabs eat both the leaves and the flowers. And these also will sit on this rack or in a cardboard box. That's cardboard. I use a lot of cardboard boxes to dry flowers. It absorbs the extra moisture. Remove the rye. The rye, to store this, you could put it in a brown bag, or you could take your scissors, your shears, and go ahead and prepare it. Just cut it up. A little stiffer than I expected. Okay, so, for that, a Ziploc bag or a brown bag. Take it, put it down in that bag. If you can't remember what you put in there, you can write on the bag. But there it is, all sealed up. Now that should keep parasites out. This I just had in the sun. It dried on its own. You could toss this in the freezer in this bag and it won't get wet. And it will kill any parasites. So that's the rye. You could do that with wheat or barley too if you have it. Up here, this had deer poop in it. I left it open, poured it in there when it was wet, and it just dried on its own. And every once in a while I'd shake the box up or dump it into a larger cardboard box like this one to dry outside. This is a strawberry container. Perfect to do that, but to store this, I'm not touching it. If you were touching it, you need gloves because it is poop. To store it, I store it in a cardboard box, and then I just close it up. You can write on it what it is. This, I have a friend at work, has rabbits. She has bunnies, and the bunnies poop, and she gives me the bunny poop. I put it in here. I'm not gonna touch that. Almost did. I dump it in here. See the little, it looks like Cocoa Puffs. That's perfect for that to dry in. And again, to store it, you can use a Ziploc bag. Or again, at the dollar store, they have these little holiday bowls every summer, Easter, holiday. You get like 4 for $1. Once it's dry, pour it in there. Too much. It's good to go. Also, mason jars. That would take a lot of poop. Save your jelly jars. This one had chow chow in it, but I cleaned it, dishwasher. So, chow chow jars, jelly jars. This is a cheese whiz jar. Even the moss and lichens. If you wanted to store this, you probably pick all this stuff out. This one's still damp, so I wouldn't put it in a plastic bag and seal that up. But a lot of people, you can put moss into a mason jar if you wanted to, and you could actually dampen that to keep that green. Or you take it, put it in a paper bag or a cardboard box, leave it open. It'll last 3 to 6 months or even longer. You can also freeze it, but I generally let it dry out. Hasn't never died on me. I've had it 3 to 6 months without being in a tank and no problem. But like I said, you can, if you put it in a plastic Ziploc bag, like when I send them to you, it will have holes in it. That is to allow air in. It shouldn't mold. That's not saying it won't. If it's airtight and you live in a humid environment, right now a lot of us do. It's getting warm out, finally. If you put it in any of those containers, you're also going to need air vents, air holes. You can use pencil boxes. Just don't close it tight, and light still gets in. Just don't snap it. These pencil boxes, got an ant. No, ant, no. You can store almost anything. Let's say you want flowers in here because you want the flowers to stay dry. This is not going to seal perfectly. So they'll stay nice and dry. And there you go. The reason I came up with how to store this stuff for winter, my first year or two of finding an ant hermit crab owner society, I realized, now I have no flowers. The flowers have all froze, they're all dead. What am I supposed to feed my crabs? They love flowers. I mean, over here I think I have honeysuckle somewhere. If you don't gather enough to get you through the winter, then you're buying from someone else, which is fine if you know who they are. But you can, if you put it away for winter, then you have it for your crabs. You can have fresh flowers, dehydrated. You can have them all winter. With the leaves, which I was trying to figure out where I put them. These are leaves that fell in the fall. So it's the opposite. If you let fall go by and you don't gather up a garbage bag of leaves before fall comes back, you're not going to have any leaves. So go out, use a garbage bag on a dry day, gather them up, leave it open, and store your leaves in there. If you only need a couple Ziploc bags, or use a grocery store brown bag, fill it up with those leaves, staple it shut, tape it shut, you'll have them. Because if you don't, you won't have any. The lichens, I like to, if it's not too cold, gather moss and lichens in the winter time because there's less insects. But if you order from me and you get it and you're like, I have extra, what do I do with it? You can store it open, store it in something loosely closed, allowing light every once in a while. Don't have to water it. Lichens do get hard. They're hard sometimes in the woods. Then it rains and then they're fresh and soft again. I get my lichens and my moss and a lot of my bark and stuff off of over 150 acres of our private land. I have 3 acres here with berry briars, bushes, maple trees, oak trees. Everything is sourced locally that you see here. I didn't even spend money on the dehydrator. I found it in my father-in-law's basement or his barn that we're cleaning out. Brand new, never been used, still in bags. So if you look around, you don't have to spend a lot of money. You can do this on a budget. A lot of people have stuff they really don't want it. Go to yard sales. If you get a dehydrator, it's open, clean it with vinegar and water. Brown grocery bags. I get my groceries now to order. When they bring it out to the car, they're in brown sacks. That's a great place to store moss, lichens, and leaves. And just roll it up, write on it, sit it on a shelf. You can toss it right in the freezer in those brown bags. You don't have to buy plastic. To mail it off, I use plastic to try to eliminate some of the hitchhikers that do come in on that. And if you order moss from me, I do freeze it, I do clean it, but check for parasites that might have hitchhiked on the way before you just put it in your tank. I think I talked about everything. You can use plastic if you want to use plastic. We're trying to get away from using, about you guys, but I'm trying to get away from using so much plastic. I think I talked about this. This is lichens on this branch. I think it's a maple branch that fell off this tree beside of me. Now, You could, like I said, set this in something shallow and pour boiling water over it, or you can freeze it. I did a test on Facebook and showed people where you can pour boiling water over moss and lichens and it doesn't kill it. Whether or not that's going to penetrate something like that, I doubt it. So you then again, something that thick, you can freeze. There's moss on this. This is ash. I have an ash tree that fell. I'm almost out of the ash wood, but it's got moss growing on it. Same thing, boiling water. And you could let this sit. This is thin enough that you could really soak this up with the water in this little piece. I've had this little piece with me 3 years, and that moss is still alive. I've never watered it. My house must be, it's at least 45% humidity, even in the winter. So apparently that's enough. So I talked about the snake shed, of how to put up the bark. I don't know if you can see behind me, but this year we have a garden. There's a cat sitting on my radishes. His name's Baby. He's chasing the cicadas on the radishes. And there's lettuce, leaf lettuce, that's mostly for us. The roses, the dahlias, the petunias, the violets. I have tomato plants, cabbage plants, pepper plants, and cucumbers. Most of that the crabs can eat. The onions, the mint, no, the marigolds, and impatiens, yes. And I think squash and zucchini. And on this side, I don't think you can see it, I have 2 giant sunflowers. Hopefully they'll grow. Well, thank you everyone. I hope I made some sense. I really enjoy helping on the Land Hermit Crab Owner Society and Crab Street Journal. Man to see me also in the Crabby Hermit. I'm Jeanne Singhass. I have a great team on the Crabby Hermit. Just come and check us out. My fellow administrators, Crabby Hermit, are Val Walker and Carol Fox. And we have a great new team. I'm not going to try to remember everybody because I miss someone. But in the Land Hermit Crab Owners team, I mean, amazing people. And Stacy Griffith and Stacy May with all of her crab safe food ideas, just amazing. We couldn't do it without all these great people. Like I said, I'm not going to try to name everyone. They're all friends of mine. I don't want anybody mad at me. So come check us all out. And we'll be talking to you later. Let me find my remote. You'll be talking to me all night. Check this one out. Come see us. Bye. It didn't shut off.